people think they want happiness, but I have watched happiness rot men from the inside. It begins as sweetness, then it dulls the mind, softens the will, and poisons the soul. The ones who worship comfort become slaves to their own pleasure, and in that slavery, they forget how to live. In this message, I will tear apart the lie that pleasure is the path to peace. You will see why chasing happiness is not only empty, it is destructive. You will learn what the pursuit of comfort does to your strength, your mind, and your spirit. And I will show you what it means to build a life that does not depend on being pleased, but on becoming powerful. You are not weak because you suffer. You are weak because you believe you should not. By the end of this, you will understand why true joy only comes to those who dare to face their own pain. I know why you seek happiness. You have been taught that life is about feeling good, that pain is the enemy, that struggle means you are broken. But I tell you, the opposite is true. The world you live in has made comfort your God. You scroll, you eat, you consume, but you do not live. This is not your fault. You were born into a world that sells happiness like medicine. But it is not medicine, it is anesthesia. It numbs the very thing that makes you human, your will to rise above yourself. What I will give you is not comfort, it is a mirror. And if you dare to look, you will see why your pursuit of happiness is the very reason you feel so empty. In this talk, I will walk you through the death trap of pleasure, the quiet way it takes your strength, your purpose, your fire. I will reveal why happiness has become the new chain of the modern man, and how it disguises itself as progress and peace. We will explore the difference between joy and pleasure, between meaning and comfort, between living and merely existing. You will see how the search for happiness has made man smaller, how it has stripped him of his chaos, his danger, his divine madness. And when this ends, you will know why I never sought happiness, but greatness, why I chose struggle over comfort, creation over calm, and pain over peace. Because only in pain is the seed of rebirth, and only those who dare to suffer can become free. People think comfort is a reward. I say it's the beginning of decay. What I'm about to share might seem strange at first, because the world has trained you to see comfort as the highest good, as if peace and pleasure were the final proof that you've made it. But that illusion is the root of your weakness. Here's what most people completely miss. Every step toward comfort is also a step away from your power. When a man starts chasing ease, he starts running from himself. The more he avoids pain, the more he avoids growth. The more he chooses comfort, the more he chooses to remain unfinished. You think you're escaping suffering, but you're really escaping transformation. Let me tell you what happens. At first, comfort feels like relief. You rest, you breathe, you feel light again. But soon, that rest becomes your routine. You forget the sharpness that once made you alive. You forget the hunger that pushed you forward. Slowly, your strength fades not because you're dying, but because you've stopped demanding life from yourself. Pleasure promises peace, but it delivers emptiness. It's the sweet song that lures sailors into drowning. You taste the sugar, but not the poison it hides. Every indulgence, every time you say, just one more. Whether it's comfort, food, distraction, or approval, each time, you give away a piece of your will, and once your will is gone, nothing of you remains. I learned this not from reading, but from rotting. My body was sick, my head full of pain, my nerves on fire. There were nights I wished to die, mornings I could barely move. But in that hell, I discovered a truth that the healthy never see. Suffering strips you bare. It kills every illusion of control and every excuse. And in that nakedness, you meet yourself. Pain gave me what comfort never could: clarity. Every great man in history understood this. The warrior who froze on the mountain, the artist who starved in his attic, the thinker who was mocked by his peers, they all endured. They didn't run from pain, they drank it like medicine, because they knew something the modern man has forgotten. The will must be trained, not pampered. Comfort breeds softness, and softness breeds despair. You call it peace when there is no friction, but I call that death. The pulse of life is tension, the pull between what you are and what you could be. That friction is where greatness is born. You can't sharpen a blade without resistance. You can't strengthen a soul without struggle. Look around you. The modern world worships ease. People want instant answers, instant pleasure, instant escape. They avoid silence because it makes them think. They avoid effort because it reveals their weakness. But tell me, what kind of life is that? One that feels smooth, but never deep. One that feels safe, but never alive. The moth burns in the flame not because it is stupid, but because it can't resist beauty. And men are the same. They chase what feels good until it kills them. They burn for pleasure, not realizing that their wings are on fire. I have no pity for such men. They have chosen their God, and their God is comfort. And comfort is a cruel God. It gives warmth, then demands your soul in return. Here's the truth I want you to see. Comfort will not make you happy. It will make you numb. It will whisper to you that you're safe while it drains your strength. It will convince you to stop fighting just when life demands that you fight the hardest. The world celebrates ease because it keeps you docile. It wants you weak, distracted, and comfortable enough never to ask, "What am I becoming?" So ask yourself, when did your comfort begin and to cost you your will? When did ease become the coffin of your ambition? When did the pleasure that once relaxed you begin to own you? There is a difference between rest and surrender. Rest renews the warrior. Surrender buries him. And if you find yourself sinking into that softness, remember this: every great spirit was forged in discomfort. Fire creates the steel, pressure creates the diamond, pain creates the man, but comfort creates nothing. And nothing is what you'll become if you worship it long enough. But comfort is only the beginning of decay. There's something darker beneath it, a hunger that never ends, a hunger that no amount of pleasure can fill. And it's that hunger that's killing you now. Let's speak of it next. Comfort may weaken the body, but pleasure devours the soul. What I'm about to tell you is not a warning, it is a confession I have witnessed in every man who lives by his desires. You see, happiness is not what it pretends to be. It promises to satisfy, to end the chase, to fill the hollow inside of you, but it never does. It only feeds that hunger until the hunger becomes you. It is the quietest kind of death, the one that looks like life on the surface. Men smile, they celebrate, they drink, they laugh, but behind every pleasure lies a tremor, a panic, a fear that the feeling will not last. And it never does. The moment of pleasure dies the instant it is born, leaving behind a craving that gnaws and whispers, "Again, more, always more." This is the sickness of our age. We have mistaken stimulation for meaning. We live in a world that sells pleasure in every form: screens, noise, food, sex, distraction, all crafted to keep you full for just a second, just long enough to stop you from feeling the emptiness that waits underneath. You call it happiness, but it is dependence. You call it joy, but it is slavery. The man who needs pleasure to feel alive is not living. He is only being kept alive by the smallest, weakest spark of satisfaction. And when that spark fades, he begins to tremble. He thinks he needs more pleasure, but what he truly needs is to confront his hunger itself. I have seen men destroy their minds in the pursuit of comfort. I have seen them waste their strength, chasing sensations that vanish faster than they can name them. They don't love life, they only love escape from it. And what's more tragic is that they believe this endless chase is what it means to live. But life does not begin when you are pleased. Life begins when you are empty and decide to create something that fills the emptiness with meaning, not pleasure. That is what I call will. That is what I call strength. The world you live in teaches you the opposite. It tells you that satisfaction is the goal, that being comfortable is being successful. Yet I tell you, satisfaction is the slowest poison, and pleasure is its sweetest taste. Think of the drunk who drinks, not to enjoy the taste, but to forget his emptiness. He wakes every morning hollow and guilty, swearing it will be different. But as night comes, the silence grows unbearable. The hunger returns, whispering that only another drink can quiet it. He obeys, knowing the drink will destroy him, yet still he obeys. You may laugh at him, you may call him weak, but look closer. How different are you? You reach for the phone, the food, the noise, the false approval, anything to silence the silence. The only difference is the shape of your poison. You are drunk on distraction. The modern man is not starving for food. He is starving for purpose. His hunger is not in his stomach, it is in his spirit. And the more he fills his life with small pleasures, the hungrier he becomes. Because pleasure feeds the hunger without ever nourishing it. It's like eating sugar when the body needs iron. Sweet, quick, and deadly. The sweetness gives you a moment of life, but it also steals tomorrow's strength. So you eat again, not because you are hungry, but because you are weak. You might ask, what else should I live for, if not happiness? And I tell you, live to become more than you are. Live to give shape to your chaos. Live to test the limits of your will. Happiness is not the point, it is the byproduct of living dangerously, creating deeply, and embracing the storm of existence without running from it. But when you chase happiness itself, you crush it, you strangle it with your fear. The one who demands constant pleasure becomes like a child clutching water in his hands. The tighter he grips it, the faster it escapes. I remember reading Schopenhauer in my youth, his talk of the will to live, this blind force that drives all creatures to survive. But he was wrong. It is not life that man truly wills, it is pleasure. He no longer fights to exist, he fights to be comfortable. His war is not with death, but with discomfort. And that, I tell you, is the greatest tragedy of all. Because when you stop fighting the hard parts of life, you stop living altogether. The will to pleasure has replaced the will to power, and that shift has turned creators into consumers, warriors into dependents, gods into beggars. Look at the modern city. Lights, noise, laughter, all masks. Look closer, and you'll see faces drained of wonder. You'll see men who have everything except meaning. They have conquered the world, yet can't conquer themselves. They wake up in rooms full of comfort and go to bed starving for purpose. That's the hunger I speak of. It cannot be fed by what you take from the world. It can only be fed by what you give to it, by creation, by struggle, by the refusal to let ease be your master. You think you want pleasure because it feels like life, but it's only pretending to be life. Pleasure without purpose is just a heartbeat without a soul. And if you build your existence on that, you will wake one day surrounded by everything you ever wanted, and still feel nothing. That's the moment when most men break. Some hide behind religion, others behind distraction, but a few, very few, dare to look directly at that void and say, I will make something out of this. Those are the ones who rise. Those are the ones who become free. So if you find yourself tired of chasing, if the next pleasure no longer pleases you, it is not because life has lost its flavor. It is because you are ready for something greater than comfort. You are ready for strength. Pleasure makes slaves of us. Strength sets us free. The weak seek to feel good. The strong seek to become good. So stop asking what will make you happy. Ask what will make you powerful. And that question, if you dare to live by it, will burn the sickness of happiness out of you. But the fire is only beginning. For even strength itself is born not from comfort, and not even from hunger, but from something deeper still. It is born from pain. And that is where we must go next. What I am about to share will sound like madness to the modern ear, for the modern man cannot imagine that pain might be holy. He has been taught to flee from it, to medicate it, to explain it away as a mistake in nature. Yet pain is not an error in life. It is life speaking its purest truth. Every deep thought I have ever had was born in pain. Every revelation, every flash of clarity that burned through my confusion, each one came from a moment when I could bear no more and still refused to collapse. Suffering, when faced fully, strips away every illusion until only what is essential remains. It takes the false gods of comfort and happiness and grinds them into dust. What remains afterward is not despair, but a harder, clearer joy, the kind that cannot be taken away because it no longer depends on anything outside yourself. I learned this lesson not through books, but through the trembling of my own body. There were days when my head felt like a furnace, nights when my bones screamed, and I thought I would never rise again. My friends pitied me, but I began to see that my illness was not my enemy, it was my teacher. It tore away my false certainties and forced me to discover a strength that existed beyond the body. In those years of agony, I realized that the weak man's pain breaks him because he fights it, while the strong man's pain remakes him because he listens to it. The weak seek to end suffering, the strong seek to understand it. Only those who endure without escape begin to sense the quiet message hidden inside pain that it is not punishment, but initiation. Without resistance, no muscle grows. Without crisis, no mind awakens. Without fire, no gold is purified. The same rule governs the soul. To be human is to be shaped by what hurts us, and the degree to which we accept this truth is the measure of our depth. The great spirits of history understood this better than anyone: the artist who starves to create beauty, the soldier who endures the cold and hunger for his vision of honor, the thinker who faces ridicule for speaking truth. They all embraced their suffering as the forge of their greatness. They did not curse the hammer that struck them. They became the blade it shaped. I often think of Prometheus, the one who stole fire from the gods to bring it to mankind. For his defiance, he was chained to a rock, his liver devoured each day by an eagle. Yet in that endless torment, he became divine himself, a symbol of rebellion and creative will. His pain was not failure. It was the price of bringing light to the world. That is what true suffering offers: a chance to transform agony into illumination. If you run from it, it will chase you. If you embrace it, it will guide you. And yet, many people misunderstand this. They think that because suffering has value, they must cling to it, glorify it, make an idol out of their wounds. But that too is a trap. Suffering itself is not the goal. Transformation is. Pain is the tool, not the treasure. It's the heat that purifies, not the ashes left behind. To worship pain is just another form of comfort, an excuse to feel righteous in one's misery. The real strength lies in using pain, not in being consumed by it. When I was younger, I despised my solitude. I envied those who seemed content in their pleasures and their busy little lives. But as time went on, I saw that solitude and pain were my allies. They stripped me of imitation, of distraction, of the need to please others. They forced me to listen to my own chaos. Out of that chaos, I began to create something new. It is in isolation, in sickness, in heartbreak, that man is forced to invent himself anew. For when everything outside of him collapses, he must become his own foundation. This is why I say the weak curse pain while the strong use it. The strong turn every wound into a weapon. They take what hurts and forge it into power. They do not beg the gods to save them, they become the gods who save themselves. You cannot destroy a man who has made peace with pain. For him, every blow becomes instruction, every loss becomes a lesson, every scar becomes a signature. He carries his suffering not as a burden but as armor. Imagine the blacksmith at his forge. The iron is dead until it meets the flame. The heat bends it, breaks it, reshapes it. The hammer pounds it without mercy, and only through that violence does the blade come alive. Such is man's spirit. Without pressure, it remains dull. Without fire, it never shines. Pain is the flame, and struggle is the hammer. To fear them is to remain unsharpened. I withdrew to my mountains not because I despised the world, but because I needed to be alone with my struggle. Solitude is not loneliness, it is the laboratory of the soul. In that quiet, I learned to speak with my demons, to understand them, to dance with them. The man who cannot face his own darkness will always be ruled by it, but the man who dances with it, he becomes whole. I learned to turn my anguish into thought, my despair into song, my pain into philosophy. Out of my suffering, I created myself. And yet, I warn you again, do not cling to suffering for its own sake. It is easy to mistake endurance for strength, but endurance without transformation is just pride wearing a mask. Pain must serve creation. It must move you forward. If it leaves you the same, then it was wasted. The goal is not to suffer endlessly, but to emerge renewed, to walk through fire and come out carrying light. So when the next hardship finds you, and it will, don't curse it. Don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what can this make of me? Because that question, more than any prayer for comfort, will awaken the Creator inside you. The world will tell you to avoid suffering, to numb it, to hide from it. But if you run from it, you run from your own birth. Every pain you escape becomes a missed chance to grow. Every hardship you embrace becomes another step toward your becoming. That is why I say, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your mirror. It shows you the cracks in your strength, the limits of your courage, the distance between who you are and who you could be. Look into that mirror, not with fear, but with reverence. For when you finally stop running from it, when you face it head-on, you will discover that pain has never been trying to destroy you. It has been trying to introduce you to yourself. But even pain, powerful as it is, can become another idol if we cling to it. The purpose of suffering is not to remain broken, but to be reborn. The goal is not endless endurance, it is transformation. And when you learn to use pain, not as your master but as your tool, then something greater than strength begins to grow within you. Something freer, purer, and infinitely more dangerous. There is a joy that no happiness can touch, a joy that burns even in the midst of pain, and it is this joy that I have spent my life trying to name. It is not the joy of escape or the joy of rest, but the joy of becoming. To most men, joy is a fleeting reward, something that visits them by chance, tied to luck, to success, to the approval of others. But I tell you, true joy is not something that happens to you. It is something that you make, the same way a fire is made by striking the stone until it bleeds light. This joy is born from struggle, from creation, from saying yes to life even when it wounds you. It is the joy that comes when you no longer ask, "How can I feel good?" but instead, "How can I live fully?" For in that shift, you stop chasing the surface of life and begin to drink from its depths. The difference between pleasure and joy is the difference between consuming and creating. Pleasure takes, joy gives. Pleasure depends on the world, joy depends on your will. The man who chases pleasure is always hungry because the world will never feed him enough. The man who creates joy is full even when he is starving, because his fire burns from within. The more he gives, the stronger it grows. I have met many who looked content, surrounded by comfort and praise, yet their eyes were empty, their laughter hollow. And I have met a few ragged, wounded, rejected by the world whose eyes still glowed with a strange light. They had found that deeper joy, the joy that does not vanish when the world turns against you. When I speak of this joy, I do not mean the childish cheerfulness of those who never think. I mean the fierce serenity of the one who has faced everything and still dares to affirm it. The one who has walked through fire, known despair, and still says, "Yes, I choose this life." This yes is the highest act of creation. It is the moment when you stop judging existence and begin to participate in it. The modern world has forgotten how to say yes. It says maybe, it says later, it says only if it feels good. But existence demands a yes that includes both pain and beauty, both victory and defeat. To love life only when it pleases you is not love, it is cowardice. To love it, even when it breaks you, that is joy. Think of the artist who loses himself in his work. His fingers bleed, his back aches, his eyes burn, and still he continues, because in that act of creation, he is both suffering and rejoicing. He does not chase happiness. He builds meaning. He feels the pain of labor and the ecstasy of birth in the same heartbeat. That is how joy and suffering are joined. They are not opposites, but partners in creation. Without the one, the other would lose its power. Without darkness, no light. Without death, no renewal. When I write of the child, I mean the innocent power that lives inside the Creator. The child builds, destroys, and builds again, not because he must, but because he delights in the act itself. He plays with the world as a god would, not asking what it gives him, but rejoicing in the fact that it exists at all. The child does not seek to possess, he seeks to explore. He does not demand meaning, he creates it with every gesture. In every true creator there remains a trace of that child, the part of us that loves life for its own sake. To return to that state is not regression, it is awakening. It is to live again without fear of loss, because you have learned that loss is part of the dance. Amor fati, that is the name I gave this love of fate. To love not in spite of pain, but because of it. To see in every wound the shape of your own becoming. Most men accept their lives like prisoners accepting their chains. They bear it, they endure it, but they never love it. Yet only the one who can love his fate, who can say yes to everything, even his own suffering, becomes free. For how can the world hurt the man who has already blessed every blow? When you learn to love even what breaks you, nothing can defeat you, because everything becomes fuel for your fire. This joy is not loud, it is not laughter or ecstasy. It is a quiet strength that hums beneath your despair. It is the calm of the man who stands alone on the edge of chaos and says, "Let it come." It is the peace of one who has stopped wishing for things to be different. He does not beg the heavens for mercy. He embraces what is and shapes it with his own hands. This is why I say that to affirm life is to become divine, for only gods can create meaning out of chaos. The weak demand a perfect world, the strong make the imperfect beautiful. You may wonder, how does one begin to find this joy? The answer is simple, yet few dare to live it. Stop running. Stop searching for happiness like a beggar searching for coins. Stop trying to escape your pain or fix your soul. Instead, face your life as it is raw, imperfect, unpredictable, and say yes. Accept the whole of it, not just the parts that please you. Say yes to your failures, yes to your loneliness, yes to your struggle, yes even to the part of you that wants to say no. For this is the secret. Joy begins where resistance ends. I have said before that happiness is for the weak, but joy, real joy, is for the brave. Happiness comes when the world smiles at you. Joy comes when you smile back at the world, even when it spits in your face. Happiness fades with every disappointment. Joy grows stronger with every challenge. The more life tests you, the deeper your joy can become. Because it is no longer built on pleasure, it is built on power. And this is the joy I offer you, not as a comfort, but as a challenge. To love your pain, to bless your struggle, to build your meaning, to rise again and again until your very suffering becomes your song. This joy is not given, it is earned. And when you have earned it, you will laugh at the very word happiness, for it will seem so small compared to the vastness of your yes to life. And when you learn to love even suffering, life changes its shape. From there, a new man is born, one who no longer seeks happiness but wholeness, one who no longer asks to be pleased but to be awakened. He does not pray for peace, he prays for strength. He does not hide from chaos, he dances in it. And that is the man who stands beyond good and evil, beyond pleasure and pain, beyond hope and fear. That is the man I call free. There comes a moment when everything you once believed collapses, when all the meanings that once held your life together begin to dissolve. It feels like death, and in a way, it is. It is the death of who you were, the death of the comfortable man, the obedient man, the man who sought safety instead of strength. And in that death, something terrible yet beautiful begins. Out of the ashes of the old self, a new man rises, not the man who asks to be happy, but the man who asks to be whole. This rebirth does not come through peace, but through fire. The new man is not born in the comfort of the crowd. He is born in the silence after he has lost everything. Most people will never meet this man within themselves. They cannot, because they are afraid to die before they die. They cling to their habits, their beliefs, their little pleasures, like a child clutching a broken toy. They fear the void, they fear change, they fear the silence where no one applauds. But that silence, that unbearable stillness is the doorway. The one who dares to walk through it, naked and unarmed, emerges transformed. I have walked through that silence. I have watched the walls of my faith crumble, my health abandon me, my mind twist in pain. But each time I fell apart, I discovered something that refused to die, a spark that no suffering could destroy. That spark was not happiness, not hope, it was will. The will to rise again. The will to become something greater than pain itself. The man who has faced this death is no longer the same. He does not worship comfort. He does not seek approval. He does not ask life to be kind to him. He demands nothing from the world because he has learned that all he needs is already within him. He becomes dangerous, not because he harms others, but because he can no longer be controlled by pleasure or fear. He no longer needs reward to act, nor does he shrink from punishment. He acts because to act is to affirm life, and to affirm life is to become his own creator. This is the man who stands apart from the herd, the one who does not measure his worth by their cheers or their hatred. He has become a law unto himself. You may think such a man must be lonely, but you would be wrong. His solitude is not emptiness, it is freedom. He walks alone because he has realized that the path to greatness is too narrow for a crowd. The herd moves together because it is afraid of itself. It confuses noise with safety, but the new man moves in silence, guided not by the voices of others, but by the storm inside him. He has learned to trust the whisper of his instincts more than the screams of the world. He knows that truth does not shout, it burns quietly in the soul like a hidden fire. To become this new man, you must be willing to destroy what you love most about yourself. You must shed your skin as the serpent does, even though it hurts, even though it leaves you raw and exposed. Every layer of identity you cling to, your name, your beliefs, your comfort, your pride, must burn away. Only then can something stronger, something freer, emerge. The serpent that refuses to shed its skin must die. The same is true for the soul. The pain of transformation is the price of immortality. The new man understands chaos. He no longer fears it, because he has made peace with the storm. He knows that freedom is not found in calm seas, but in learning to sail through tempests. The weak want order. They want rules and masters to protect them from their own uncertainty, but the strong embrace the wildness of existence. They know that chaos is not their enemy, it is their home. To live dangerously, to walk the edge without flinching, to face the unknown without begging for guarantees, that is life in its highest form. Only in danger do you feel your pulse. Only in risk do you sense that you exist at all. I have said before, freedom is not found in comfort, but in chaos mastered. Freedom is the courage to face life exactly as it is, to meet its cruelty and its beauty with the same open heart. The new man laughs where others cry. He creates where others complain. He moves forward where others retreat. He no longer waits for happiness to arrive, because he has seen that happiness is the child of weakness. What he seeks instead is intensity, moments of truth so pure they burn away all pretense. He would rather feel pain that is real than comfort that is false. He would rather stand alone in truth than be surrounded by lies that soothe him. This new man does not ask, "Am I happy?" That question belongs to the old self, the one still enslaved to pleasure. The new man asks, "Am I becoming?" For to become is the only true joy, and to stop becoming is the only true death. His life is not a search for peace, but a battle for transformation. Each day he dies a little, and each day he is reborn. He knows there is no finish line, no final resting place, no eternal calm waiting beyond the struggle. The struggle itself is the point. The eternal becoming is his heaven. You will recognize this man not by his comfort, but by his fire. You will see it in his eyes, the calm of someone who has looked into the abyss and learned to smile back. He may lose everything, but he cannot lose himself, for he has become the flame that consumes loss. His laughter will sound strange to you, because it carries no fear. He will speak of pain as if it were a friend, of solitude as if it were a lover, of death as if it were merely another transformation. For him, everything that happens is part of the dance, part of the great yes to existence. This is the man who stands at the peak of his suffering and declares, "I am glad it happened. I would live it all again." Amor fati, love of fate. To love it all, the wounds, the storms, the moments of madness, is to reach the highest joy a human can know. That is the joy beyond pleasure. That is the freedom beyond peace. That is the victory beyond happiness. So now I ask you, are you willing to die to your old self? Are you ready to burn everything that keeps you small? Are you brave enough to step into the fire and call it life? Because this is the only way. There is no comfort in transformation. There is only chaos, pain, and the sacred act of becoming. So the question is not whether you are happy, it is whether you are alive enough to suffer, to grow, to become. You have followed me through the labyrinth of comfort and hunger, through pain and joy, through the fire and into the silence beyond it. And if you have understood me, even a little, you now see that what men call happiness is the greatest deception of all. It promises you light, but it blinds you. It offers you peace, but it paralyzes you. It tells you that life should feel good, when the truth is that life is not meant to be felt, it is meant to be lived. You have been trained to believe that the highest goal is to be comfortable, to smile, to relax, to settle. But comfort is the language of death. It whispers gently so you don't notice the moment your spirit begins to rot. The grave feels peaceful too. That is the final comfort. You have seen now that the search for happiness weakens the will, dulls the mind, and steals your fire. It numbs you until you mistake silence for serenity, decay for contentment, cowardice for peace. The modern world worships this numbness. It calls it balance, wellness, progress. But what good is a balanced man who cannot feel deeply, who cannot fight for what he loves, who cannot suffer without breaking? The one who is always comfortable has never lived at all. It is only the man who walks through suffering, who dares to wrestle with his despair, who is truly awake. You were not born to be comfortable. You were born to be dangerous, to confront existence itself with open eyes and say, "I will shape you." I tell you now that happiness, comfort, and pleasure are not gifts, they are cages. You think you are free when you feel good, but freedom begins only when you stop needing to feel good. The one who can act in pain, who can move through fear, who can love his struggle, he is the master of himself. He is not carried by moods or circumstances. He commands them. He does not ask life to be easy. He demands that he be strong. That is freedom. That is what it means to become a creator rather than a creature. You have been told to chase happiness as if it were a light at the end of a tunnel. But I tell you, the tunnel is endless because the light you chase is a mirage. Every time you think you have reached it, it moves further away, and still you run, until your life is spent chasing something that was never real. What if you stopped running? What if you turned around and faced the darkness instead? You would see that the light has always been behind you, burning quietly in your chest, waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere. The light is not something you find. It is something you ignite. And pain is the spark that sets it aflame. So do not chase happiness. Chase depth. Chase danger. Chase the self that frightens you. Let the weak cling to comfort. Let them spend their days numbing their senses, pretending to be alive. But you, if you have understood me, must do the opposite. You must chase what terrifies you. You must throw yourself into the fire and learn to dance in it. The man who dares to suffer is the man who dares to live.